Hello, bonjour, everyone. CT Luna here. Welcome to the Audio Lab. So, throughout the month of July, I'm running a little experiment. I know so many of you love to listen to your books, and since I'm getting ready to eventually record and publish the official audiobook for Brown Beyond Borders, Emerging into a Golden Multidimensionality, it's a biracial memoir by yours truly. I wanted to practice out loud with you first. So, every single day this month, I'm pulling up a chair. I'm reading a few pages of my memoir right here. And if you're on the free list, these daily drops will stay open for just a few days before they head into the archives for my paid subscribers. So make sure you keep up. If you ever miss a session or want to unlock the whole archive to listen at your own pace, you can upgrade to a paid subscription at any time. But for today, let's just hang out and wrap up chapter one. At university, I took classes with a young woman whose family had left Iran in the early 1980s. Before Iran had become an Islamic republic, when it was still a monarchy, her father had been a high ranking judge. But in the new political order of those times, and to protect his family, he had no choice but to flee his country. My friend had spent several years in a suburb of Brussels, Belgium, where she picked up French. And then as a teenager, she and her family moved to Maryland. She attended junior high and high school where she applied herself to learning English and was the first child in her family to attend an American university. We were both sitting in French class together, waiting for the professor to arrive. And when I asked her what work her father does, he drives a taxi, but back home he used to be a judge. Her tone was defiant, but I understood why. The trauma that emerges from episodes of injustice or tiny cuts of microaggressions becomes embedded within the family structure. It's encoded in each family member's genes and passed down through the generations. And this inherited burden of pain and oppression, though often unspoken, can weigh heavily on the psyche of immigrants, including young immigrant women. She eventually graduated from university, and a few years later, she also graduated from law school. But I'm certain she still carries within her not only her own trauma, but that of her ancestors too. The energy from that trauma, internalized over time, can manifest in numerous ways: anxiety that gnaws at the edges of confidence, depression that casts a shadow over dreams, and even the debilitating symptoms of post traumatic stress disorder. Conversely, this inherited trauma can also be channeled into a relentless drive for high performance, as if striving to outrun the ghosts of our ancestors. So, since 1979, women's enrollment in US colleges and universities has outnumbered that of men, and the gap has been consistently widening ever since. In the 2021-2022 academic year, women outpaced men scholastically, earning the majority of higher learning degrees. That is, associate's degrees, 62.8%, bachelor's degrees at 58.5%, master's degrees at 62.6%, and doctor's degrees at 57%. The data is similar when it comes to women of color across racial, ethnic, and indigenous segments, including US citizens, permanent residents, and non resident aliens. For example, in 2016 to 2017, the following female demographics outperformed their racial and ethnic counterparts in earning their master's degree. Black women at 69.9%, Latinas at 64.6%, Asian and Pacific Islanders at 56.7%, American Indian, Alaska Natives at 66.1%, and biracial or multiracial women at 63.5%. To further understand this phenomenon, Virginia Tech researcher Sara Oving conducted a long-term study of 50 Latino and Latina college aspirants to understand whether gender equality motivated the women to earn their higher education degrees. She found that, quote, Latinas felt they needed to attain a degree in order to earn independence, specifically independence from men, in order to be free from worries without needing a guy for support, end quote. For young immigrant women, navigating cultural expectations and familial pressures alongside a personal desire for professional advancement can create a unique set of challenges, making the pursuit of happiness, as envisioned by the American dream, a more arduous journey. Reflecting on my own academic trajectory, I was certainly motivated to pursue higher learning degrees because I believed it was my ticket to independence. I believed university degrees would afford me more career options, the possibility of travel, and the freedom to choose where I would live. I knew I did not want to stay in an environment that perpetuated, tolerated, or glossed over injustices and inequities. And I questioned the concept of the American dream and whether it could be a reality for people like me. Though single race, single heritage immigrant youth may still face challenges related to their immigrant status, they may have a clear sense of cultural identity and belonging within their ethnic community. They may also be more readily identifiable as members of a particular racial or ethnic group, which can offer a sense of solidarity and support. However, for biracial people, our physical appearance sometimes does not align with societal expectations of race, causing others to question and make assumptions about our background and identity. For example, throughout my childhood, I've been asked by Asian-looking women if I'm part Vietnamese or Cambodian. In other instances, people have approached me speaking Spanish, asking for directions or where I'm from. And at first, I found this curious and awkward, but over time, I realized it was a way for us brown folk to establish strength in numbers or just to find a community. Over the years, I sometimes felt a need to identify with one race or ethnicity over others. But joining groups that centered around those themes always felt limiting, like I needed to deny or ignore a part of my heritage in favor of another. As a brown woman navigating predominantly white spaces, I became a loose part of a patchwork of communities, which has added another layer of complexity to my understanding and pursuit of belonging. A few years ago, here in Switzerland, a brown woman struck up a conversation with me on our morning commute. She asked me in German whether I spoke Portuguese, commenting that I looked like I might come from Cape Verde, where she was from. I responded in German that I was not, and that I also do not speak Portuguese. And for several months, she and I continued to greet each other and have pleasant conversations on the bus ride that would take us to the train station. We sat next to each other, exchanging stories about the weather, our weekends, family visits, and upcoming holiday plans. And I learned that she worked in a major hospital in Zurich. She had studied nursing both back home and in Switzerland, where she earned all the necessary degrees and certifications to secure stable employment. She always told me how much she enjoyed her job, her colleagues, and the patients. The two of us had created a bubble of community, a micro community. Then one day, she announced that she and her husband were leaving Switzerland for good. They were returning to her home country after 20 years. As much as they tried, they could never really feel at home, and so they decided to go back. I was sad to see her leave, but I fully understood her struggle to gain a foothold in this culture. I could fully appreciate the time and energy she and her husband had invested in trying to build a new life in a new country. This could be described as resilience, even grit. Throughout my adult life, I had made changes and decisions that looking back could be described as giving up. But now I see them as resilience, responding creatively to outside circumstances that I felt severely hampered my ability to be me or to live up to my fullest potential. Resilience helped my friend and her husband build a life in a foreign country, and grit helped them think creatively about changing a situation that was no longer fulfilling them. Heritage and culture are deeply ingrained in our being. They shape our identities and influence our journeys through life. They encompass the traditions, values, beliefs, and practices passed down through generations, forming a unique pattern that tells the story of who we are and where we come from. For individuals with immigrant backgrounds, heritage and culture hold even greater significance. They represent a connection to a homeland, which can be a source of strength in navigating a new and often challenging environment. Embracing heritage and culture is not always a straightforward path. It can be fraught with challenges, complexities, and conflicts that arise from navigating multiple identities and grappling with the realities of systemic racism, intergenerational trauma, and cultural expectations. The stories I'm sharing in this book highlight the complex interplay of these factors in the lives of young immigrant women of color. They illustrate how experiences of prejudice, discrimination, and microaggressions can leave lasting scars, impacting self esteem and shaping perspectives on the world. In each of these stories, and many I haven't shared, I have found some gems within me. I have discovered moments that show remarkable resilience and determination. I have observed these characteristics in so many other brown immigrant women navigating similar challenges. And that is where we're stopping for today. If you have a question about the book, the writing process, or anything we covered in today's segment, please drop it in the comments of this post. I might just answer yours on a future episode. And I'm really glad to share this unedited process with you. Look out for the next pages or the next audio in your inbox tomorrow morning. If you know someone who would connect with this part of the journey, please share this post with them while it's still open to the public. And if you want to support this audio experiment and my writing as I start drafting book two, consider becoming a paid subscriber and unlock everything. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you tomorrow. À demain.